My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey gang, welcome back. Today we've got an interesting guest doing something different in the wholesale business. So Josh Parpia is zooming in from beautiful Winter Garden, Florida. And what I find fascinating about the way Josh does wholesale deals is he was telling me off camera that over 90% of the deals that they do are through working with realtors, which is very, very different than most other wholesalers I've spoken with who are typically looking for off-market deals. So Josh, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Hey, Dave. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. All right, Josh. So we're early days, 2025. Just to give everybody a snapshot, what kind of volume of wholesale deals did you do last year, and how are things shaping up for you in 2025?
Sure. So last year, 2024, we did around 55 to 60 wholesale transactions closed and funded. This year, we're still in Q1. We started a bit hot. Market is tough right now. It is not the easiest market. So we're tightening up our systems and processes, and hopefully we can keep that upward trajectory going.
No, that sounds exciting. All right. So Josh, for folks who aren't super familiar with it, maybe just give us a big broad strokes overview. What does wholesaling look like to you? Like what is your definition of a wholesale deal?
Sure. So, some investors have different definitions. The way I try to put it, we are trying to broker a deal between the buyer and the seller. A marriage between buyer and seller, where we are the middleman, and in exchange for our services, we receive an assignment fee. And so that can come in different shapes and sizes. Each one, it's a case-by-case basis. Each deal is its own story.
All right, very good. So my understanding of a wholesaling deal is typically you're finding a seller and you're tying up the property for price A, and then you're turning around and you're finding a buyer and you're selling the rights to that deal to the buyer for price B, and whatever's in the middle is kind of your profit. And typically in other wholesale deals, it's people a lot of time looking for really kind of, how can I put it, motivated sellers where they can get in the property, get it for a very, very low price, and typically sell it to a flipper who's going to buy that property, renovate it, turn around, sell it for a profit. So there's got to be a lot of wiggle room in there. What are you guys doing differently, or does that pretty much cover what you're up to as well?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. Some nuances in there would be, again, the name of the game for us is motivation, trying to find seller motivation, trying to, in this market, where, market is not hot so far in 2025.
So are you focusing specifically in Florida? Is that the market that you focus on, or a specific part of Florida? What?
Correct. So right now we are open in all major Florida markets. So that's Central Florida and Orlando. We do a lot in Tampa and St. Petersburg, Ocala and Jacksonville, and a bit in South Florida as well.
Okay. All right. Very good. Right. So yeah, you're looking for motivated sellers. Now.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we were talking off camera that wholesaling has a bad rap with realtors. And I can understand that, right? Because typically realtors, I was never a full-time wholesaler, but I have done a few assignments in the past.
Yep.
Realtors hate it, right? Because they feel like we're encroaching on their turf. They feel like we're acting like a realtor without a license. They feel like we're screwing over mom and pop homeowner and squeezing all the juice out of them and not getting them a good deal. So there is a lot of stigma, especially with realtors, about wholesalers. So how are you able to do 90+% of your deals with realtors and on market property?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the past, it's been realtors and wholesalers are kind of like oil and water. They don't really mix well. So I come from a background in healthcare and customer service. And so we try to cater to a lot of realtors. Like you mentioned, most of our wholesale deals are MLS deals. That means we're working with listing agents that are having trouble offloading their property, selling their seller's property. So we have to be a resource to them, that they know that, hey, in the case that this property doesn't really get its true market value, I know Josh and his team are there, with a cash offer in hand, and they'd be able to get it done for us and the seller. And these are typically properties that may be sitting on the market a long time. These may be properties that they may have fire damage or may have had storm damage from the hurricanes last year. These are properties that are not moving on the market, that are sitting stagnant. And you're having sellers that need to cash out, and you're having agents that are in a very frustrated situation.
Okay. So some wholesalers wait for the listing to expire and then go direct to the home seller. You're not bothering to wait for the listing to expire. You're going directly to the realtor. How are you making it work? How is everybody getting paid? How do they still make a commission and you guys still make enough? There's still be enough skin on the bone for everybody to be happy.
Yeah, sure. So I think in this market, we try to be extremely conservative. I think investors are being very picky about which properties they want to pour their money into.
So
Um,
are you selling as your end buyer flippers or mom and pop homeowners or who are you selling to?
yeah, so sometimes it can be an investment firm, it could be a mom and pop flipper, it could be a nationwide home buyer. It could also be there are some deals that we sell to landlords as well. That are, these are turnkey properties that, they just want the pure cash flow at the end of the day without any headaches. So
But most of them wouldn't be turnkey type properties. These are problematic properties that need work, wouldn't they be?
I would say primarily we do sell to flippers, but I would say, maybe less than a quarter of our deals are sold to landlords, in which, they're basically, taking over a cash flowing asset.
Okay, got it. So my
Yeah.
mainly flippers, kind of rundown properties that need work is what you're working on. All right. Okay, so I'm getting this. So again, how do you make this deal work so that the you guys get paid, the realtor gets paid, the homeowner is still willing to do the deal, it still makes sense to them. How does that all work?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess the name of the game, like we discussed, is seller motivation, right? So we have to be able to acquire the property with enough margin, in which an investor is willing to put down a full cash or hard money offer, and feel confident doing so, and retaining our profit margin in the process, which is our assignment fee.
Yeah.
Um, so for all of that to work, we need a slam dunk deal. The margin has to be there.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we like selling MLS deals, especially if a property's been sitting for a while, I can go to an investor and say, hey, this is the MLS price. And then under that, this is the price that I can get this to you for, right? It's almost like another selling point,
Okay.
especially if we're under market value.
Well, it would have to be, right? Because it wouldn't the investor at the end of the day be looking for after repaired value and what the final price is
Correct.
going to be and do all their calculations based that way. So it's another arrow in your
Correct.
quiver. You can say, hey, here's what it's listed for. Here's what we got it tied up for. But you
Absolutely.
probably still have to show them what the ARV is and all that kind of stuff, don't you?
Correct. Yeah. So typically, when we are selling to flippers, especially, we can attach. We have our own flipping calculator, our flipping ROI. What we project numbers to be. We send them our own comps as well, and of course, we recommend they run their own numbers as well. We don't like to inflate any numbers. We're not trying to inflate after repair value.
Yeah.
We like to stay true. So build that trust for us. It's never really about a one-off transaction with a flipper.
Yeah,
Learned pretty
you want
early
a
on.
long-term relationship because they're going to buy over and
Yep,
over from you.
long-term partnerships, long-term
Yeah.
relationships, and so there are times that we've done $0 transactions just to build a partnership,
Hmm.
and we're strong believers that relationships, your network is your net worth in this industry. We're only as strong as our buyers, as our buyer lists. And so the more partnerships we can build, not only with end buyers, but with listing agents as well that trust us with their properties, the further we'll go.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. What your deal lead generation process looks like, if you don't mind sharing that, Josh. So I know
Sure.
a lot of traditional wholesalers they're doing direct mailings to neighborhoods, and they're doing
Yep.
SMS text messaging, and they're blasting everybody
Yep.
and their dog with I buy houses type stuff. You guys aren't. You're doing something different. So walk me through what that process looks
Correct.
like. I'm really curious.
Yeah, so our acquisition process is a bit unorthodox because again, we're not working off market deals. So we're not doing the cold calling, the texting. We're not, knocking on every door trying to get, trying to convince sellers to sell. We are working on MLS deals. And so in my opinion, the first obstacle is already overcome. The seller wants to sell,
Yeah.
right? In an off market transaction, half the efforts of just trying to convince the seller to sell,
Or find
right?
the sellers that do want to sell. Right now
Exactly.
happens to be the time. Okay.
Exactly. So if the property's on the market, the seller wants to sell. Now it's a numbers game, right? So
Okay.
now it's about finding motivation. And so, if we take the numbers out of it, really what I'm looking for is some indication that the seller is willing to let go of this property for under market value. This could be it's sitting stagnant on the market for, let's say, 90 plus days.
Okay.
Maybe we can see that, hey, while it's being listed, it's had multiple price reductions, right? That's a great indication of a motivated seller. We could see that, the listing description itself, it can say motivated. We can look up certain keywords: motivated seller, cash or hard money only, will not pass FHA inspections
Hmm.
or VA inspections. There are, we do a lot of keyword searches. It could be a handyman special.
Hmm.
Any indication that the property also needs some work. We've even sold sinkhole properties and used the keyword sinkhole. We can do that as well. So we're trying to solve the seller's problems here. We're trying to come in at a number where we're almost guaranteeing a sale. So we're going to anchor our initial offer pretty low, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to find really, what the seller's pain point is. Do they need cash in 2 weeks? Is it a probate situation and they need someone who's going to have a flexible close date for 2 or 3 months?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's really not about price either. The other terms can be just as important.
Okay. So that's finding seller motivation. I'm guessing that to get to the real motivation, you have to go through the realtor to kind of get what the real story is sometimes.
Correct.
That's that whole other gatekeeper kind of in the way between
Yes.
you and the seller. So walk me through
Yes.
how that works, especially with a realtor who's never heard of you before,
Yeah.
hates wholesalers' guts. Like
Yeah.
like how do you get through there?
Yeah, and so that's where the sales aspect comes in, but it's also just it's a human to human interaction. We're just all we're trying to do is have the listing agent align with us and realize that we're both working towards the same goal here to help the seller, rather than trying to split hairs with them and try to nitpick, pricing.
So what does
Um,
that look like in real life? That sounds great, but how do
yeah,
you're on the phone with the listing agent? What does that conversation look like?
yeah, absolutely. So we always like to establish credibility first. And then we also usually let them know that, hey, number one, we have multiple exit strategies here, right? It
So how
could
do you
be,
establish credibility first? You're getting a brand new realtor you never talked to before, they've never heard of you.
yeah,
What how do you establish the credibility?
sure. So I think it can come in a myriad of ways depending on the listing agent and really their tone and how open they are. For me personally, I like to, we like to discuss our own portfolios. We like to discuss the number of other wholesale transactions we've done. I also like to make sure that we are being resources to the listing agents we're reaching out to, whether it's, um, you know, current market knowledge of not only their, vicinity, but throughout Florida and nationwide. We are sending out hundreds of offers a day. And
Okay, so
so,
this isn't a phone call. This is an email that's going out. Is that or what's the usually the first contact?
sure. So it could be either an email or a phone call,
Okay.
depending on how hot we think the lead would be, how motivated we think the sellers are.
Okay.
And so because we look at and we analyze so many properties and we talk to so many listing agents a day, we feel that we have very up to date market analysis and news that maybe the day-to-day agent doesn't. A lot of agents out there might be their side job. They might be just selling a property for their family or their friend. I saw a stat, I think last week, that about 70% of agents did not sell a property in 2024.
Wow.
70% of licensed agents.
Oh, my goodness.
So there are a lot of agents out there that are just holding their license maybe to sell maybe one house a year, two houses a year. Maybe they just want to sell their own house this year and they just want to keep half the commission. So there are a lot of agents that also, we like to educate. Hey, this is what an assignability clause is on a contract. There are a lot of contractual ways we can educate them too, and to show that, hey, we are legitimate. You might have had bad experiences in the past with wholesalers. We have a tried and true title company that we love using that stand by us. We have hundreds of referrals, whether it's other listing agents or buyers that we would love to share with you. Any way to, form this credibility packet around our company. And so all we're doing is coaching them so that when they present our offer to the seller, they are aligned with us and they're nudging the seller like, hey, spoke to Josh or someone on Josh's team. These are good people. They're speaking the truth.
They're serious.
They will close. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I want to ask a big picture question here, Josh. So you did about 50 transactions, more than 50 transactions last year, I should say. That comes out to about one a week, give or take. Obviously, it never works out exactly that way, but
yeah.
But to get that volume of deals, what does the activity look like? So what would a week of activity look like for you guys when it comes to the lead generation side of things to actually close that deal, numbers
Sure.
wise?
So we have an incredibly well-oiled engine as our team. I have a business partner. His name is Julian, and it is really our team is our strength. We have besides us two, we have a licensed agent on our staff, and also we leverage international virtual assistants as well. We have over 10 virtual assistants that help us throughout the transaction. And recently we've also started to incorporate some AI, whether it's with responding to emails or, handling some busy work or admin work that we feel like our time is worth more in another area of the business. And so we have extremely active days because, it's all about a lead funnel. If you have X number of offers going out, only a small fraction of those offers, will be hot leads. And then really from the hot leads, only a fraction of that will become executed contracts. And then even after you have an executed contract, there's a portion of that which does not sell. Either we evaluated the property wrong or, the lead there was not enough meat on the bone for an investor to take it and for us to make a profit. Or, hey, we thought we had a good deal, but this would have been a slam dunk in a great market, like, during COVID. But in this current market, investors aren't sniffing the deal.
If we back it out, what does that lead funnel look like to finally get down to a completed deal? Big broad strokes. You might not know the exact numbers, but
yeah. So I would say, let's say we're sending out 100 offers. I would say from those 100 offers, there's a potential that 5 to 10 of those are hot leads. We still categorize and follow up on those that are not initially hot leads as well, because you never know. It could just be, hey, one day a seller, they changed their mind, they slept on it, they love it, or hey, they need cash for something else. They want to pour cash into a different investment vehicle. They know they can fall back on our cash offer. And a lot of the times too, it's agents going to work for us. Like, hey, we call them VIP agents that we've done deals with already. They will hold our number until it's the right time to present it to the seller, because they know we're as close to a sure thing as you can get in this market. I mean, last week I read another stat that Florida is experiencing the highest cancellation rate it has in transactions in a very long time. Buyers are not performing, whether it's interest rates changing and them not even being able to afford the loan, or their contingency sales where the other, the initial property didn't sell and now they can't close.
Yeah, there are lots of stuff going on. Well, it's
Yeah.
fascinating, Josh. Thank you very much for sharing this kind of different approach to wholesaling that you're doing. I'm sure lots of people would like to find out more and connect with you. So if they want to connect with you there, Josh, where's the best place for them to go?
Sure. Best place would be my Instagram. My handle is jparpia, Jparpia. Would love to connect with anyone who'd love to talk real estate. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, Josh. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate your time.
All right, everybody, take care. See you on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.